Join us once again for the Talk Radio WRNR TV 10 candidate forums on Tuesday, April 21 from 8 a.m. until noon. We will host these forums once again at the Berkeley County Commission Chamber Meeting Room at 400 West Stevens Street, Martinsburg. The forum will feature candidates for contested seat races and will air live on TV 10 Martinsburg, which is Comcast Cable TV Channel 10, on Talk Radio WRNR, FM 106.5 at AM 740, and via our TV 10 Martinsburg Facebook live stream. We hope to see you there.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Education West Virginia, Berkeley professionals, and Education West Virginia service professionals, we'd like to welcome you to our Board of Education Forum tonight. Our moderator tonight will be Education West Virginia State Co-President Dale Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an honor to be with you tonight. There are some people that I want to recognize before we get this started. And first of all, if I will have the officers of Education West Virginia Berkeley, if you would please stand and be recognized. They were just up here. The officers for Education West Virginia Berkeley ESP were just up here. I want to recognize the field rep for Education West Virginia, Lisa Henry, over there. And I'd like to recognize any of our building reps that are in the audience, if you would please stand and be recognized for that. Thank you. This will be available tonight. It's being broadcast live on WRNR TV 10, and it will also be on be able to live stream it afterwards. To stream it afterwards on their YouTube channel. Correct? All right. Before we get started, there are some other people that I want to make sure we recognize. First of those being the Superintendent of Berkeley County Schools, Superintendent Sachs. If you will stand and be recognized. I knew I saw him. And then finally, in May, the election is not just for board candidates, it's also the primary for our House and Senate races. So if we have any people in here running for the legislature, the House or the Senate, if you would please stand and let us recognize you too. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to ask the candidates to just give a brief introduction of themselves. Tell me your name and your area that you're from. And then the rules of this will be, there'll be a series of questions asked. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. Our trusty timekeeper right here will show a yellow card to you when you've had 1 minute to go. And then the red card will come up at the end of your time. At the end of your time, I will allow you to complete the sentence that you're saying, not the thought, the sentence. And then I will cut you off. That's the privilege of being old, is that it doesn't bother you anymore to say, that's it, time's up. So as long as we know that, we will start over here, and if you will just introduce yourself and tell us I see it's on your card, but I don't read that well from a distance anymore, so tell us the district.
Hi, I'm Robert McCauley, and I am in the Shenandoah district.
I'm Valerie Ledford, and I'm in not the Shenandoah, I am in the Tuscarora.
I'm Brent Sherrard. I'm in the Valley District.
I'm Jackie Long, and I'm in the Adams Stevens District.
Hello, I'm Kathy Funkamores, and I'm from the Adams Stevens Martinsburg area.
Yvonne Jenkins, Adams Stevens.
Good evening, Colleen Reed. I am from Tuscarora.
And I'm Damon Wright from the Potomac District.
Okay. Thank you so much. We will begin with our questions. And the first thing that we're going to do is ask you what your relationship or experience with the public education and Berkeley County schools is. So we will start to my left and go down the line this time. And the same person will not have to answer first every time. I will switch it up. So feel a little relieved for that.
So again, Robert McCauley. I am a husband of an educator of 12 years in the county, and I have 4 children that have either graduated from Berkeley County schools or are currently in Berkeley County schools.
I'm Valerie Ledford. I've had 2 students in Berkeley County schools, one that's currently in Berkeley County schools. I've lived here all of my life. I'm a graduate of Hedgesville High School, and I also work in another county, Jefferson County, and I've been a school aide there for almost 10 years.
I'm Brent Sherrard. I grew up in Berkeley Springs, was involved in sports and meeting people from Berkeley County for most of my life. I've been an educator for 34 years. 31 of those years were in Berkeley County, 20 years as a principal. I recently retired and went back to the classroom doing what I love to do, working with kids, and that brings me here.
I'm Jackie Long. I spent 40 years in Berkeley County Schools, retired as coordinator of service personnel in 2014. I was president of the Berkeley County School Service Personnel Association for 25 years and state president of WVSSPA for 12 years. I have always advocated for teachers and service personnel and students, so that's my life history, is being in education. That's all I know.
Hi, Kathy Funka-Morris. I am a product of public education from kindergarten to med school. I have had 2 children go through Berkeley County schools. I've had 2 exchange students go through Berkeley County schools. I've been a physician back here for the last 23 years. I grew up in Jefferson County. I have been customer service for Berkeley County school system for all the patients that I've taken, from cafeteria staff to bus drivers to teachers to principals to the central office.
I'm Yvonne Jenkins, 1982 graduate of Martinsburg High School. Too many family members to mention that have gone to Martinsburg High School, graduated from Martinsburg High School. Host of nieces, nephews. My brother is one of the coaches for the Martinsburg High School football team, Go Dogs. And, just a host of nieces and nephews. My son graduated from Martinsburg High School as well.
Colleen Reed. I have been a resident of the Eastern Panhandle for 26 years. I spent 21 years in Jefferson County and most recently the last 5 years here in Berkeley County. All 4 children have been public school attendees, and currently my last and youngest is a junior at Spring Mills High School. I served on the board for the Eastern Panhandle Prep Academy as well as the WVVA charter school as well.
My name is Damon Wright again. My relationship is a product of Berkeley County schools. I've lived here in Berkeley County all my life. I graduated from Martinsburg High School, went to Shepherd College. I have 3 children that have graduated from Berkeley County schools, and I have a grandson that's currently in Berkeley County schools, as well as a cousin that's currently a principal in Berkeley County schools. I've been volunteering in Berkeley County schools for probably at least 10 years in various ways. And I'm a current board member that continues to volunteer, including for a couple years with the Read Aloud program.
Okay, thank you so much. Next question is, what is your major motivation for wanting to serve or continue to serve on the Board of Education? And we will start with Ms. Morris.
My main motivation is I believe in public education. I believe the community is as only good as the support that we give for public education. I think teachers are the most valuable professional resource that we have in our state. I believe that we need to focus on how we can keep this profession in our county successful retained, happy, so that it overflows into the growth of the county. Your county cannot grow and be successful unless you have a strong education system that feels like it's backed and that it is going to progress forward.
Okay, Ms. Jenkins.
Wow. First of all, for the students and for the teachers, this county is growing in leaps and bounds. We're losing teachers in leaps and bounds. Students are getting left behind and students are getting pushed forward. So at some point, we have got to come together and figure out, first of all, we've got to start disciplining these children. When you have second grade students attacking teachers and nothing is done other than I'm going to write that up, I'm sorry, there's got to be a better way to take charge of that. And, we just have to do better as far as getting our teachers here, retaining our teachers, paying our teachers well, and taking care of our students and make sure that they understand that there is a process. It's called discipline, and they will adhere to it.
Let's read.
So I believe that my major motivation for running for Berkeley County School Board would be to get back to basics. We really need a fundamental approach to reading, writing, and math. And after that, all of the things should fall in line from there. I also believe that there is a place for everyone in the public school system, for everyone to be challenged, for everyone to be accepted, and for everyone to be safe.
My main motivation is to continue the work by speaking to teachers and staff, as I have been for the last 4 years, to continue the increases in our test scores that we've seen from the hard work that our staff have put in trying to educate our students. There are challenges, but I think those challenges also motivate me to continue to push forward to try to do what works for our students. Those things may not always be what the administration would like to see, or the staff or the educators would like to see, but find a collaboration, find a common ground to what works best for the students. It's not going to make everybody happy all the time, and that's not my motivation. My motivation is to educate our students to the best of our abilities, and I want to be able to work hard and be that intermediary person to help do that.
Ms. Long.
My motivation for running for the board is to continue what I feel like I've have done since 2021 when I ran for the board, and what I did as an employee. I want to see that all staff are treated fairly. Education right now, public education right now in this state and in this nation is at a crossroads. We have more mandates put on us than anybody. And teachers work harder and harder every day. I actually don't know how they do it in a classroom. I don't know that I could do it in a classroom. I want to ensure that what they have and what they continue to get, that we can provide more of that even in this county. If we are constantly being driven with mandates and federal mandates that we throw down on teachers, that they can't actually do their job.
You still have a minute.
Oh, and that keeps them from educating our students. As others have said, the discipline in the classroom, that has to change. We do what we can with students, but when students stand up every day and tell you to do something to yourself that's not in the dictionary, I don't think it is now, that we shouldn't allow any of that. Teachers should be treated with respect and not be judged for what they can't do, and then be fearful of parents that are going to come in and do something to them because they disciplined a student. We need to back them, and we need to continue backing them.
Mr. Sherrard.
My motivation's twofold, not just in Berkeley County, but in West Virginia and across the nation. We need to make education something that people want to work in again. That has went away for many reasons. The second motivation, which ties into that, is our students aren't achieving anywhere near where we want them to be. Teachers have been held accountable for years, and for years have been told what they're doing wrong, and principals, this is what you're doing wrong. And there's accountability there is a necessary thing. However, the only way we're going to make education something that people want to do again is making the students and the parents more accountable for their academics and their behaviors. The behaviors are unacceptable. As an assistant principal, things that I would suspend a kid for severely disrespecting a teacher for 3 days, they might get a day of in-school now. It's out of control, and we're not going to have people wanting to be in education until those things change, and that's just it.
Well, my main motivation actually came from being a parent. Back in 2012, I became a foster and adoptive parent. And through that, I really learned about trauma, brain development, everything that builds a human being. And that's what made me go into education. I learned so much that I felt like I needed to use that to help other people. And I went into that to help the students, to support the teacher, and to help the parents, because we all have to work together. And that was something I struggled finding as a parent. And now that I work in education, I see the other side where staff struggles to get that support within their own schools. And you hear that from all education, all educated people. They're constantly fighting for what's right and necessary, and it gets pushed to the side. And that is something that needs to stop. We need to look into our policies. We need to actually follow our policies. I'm all about compassion, but compassion equals accountability. And everything is built on that. We need to get back to the root issues and the root causes of everything. West Virginia is different than many states. We are number one in everything that we shouldn't be, and the bottom of everything that we should be the top of. And I want to go back and fix those things at the root cause so that we can get back to where we need to be, so our society can flourish and not continue to have behavior issues.
Imagine your best friend saying, "I don't know if I can do this anymore." Your instinct is to comfort her, give her hope, and tell her to hang on and keep pushing forward. You know that their work really matters, and a lot of kids depend on them. As the husband of an educator, I've seen how hard this work has become in the last decade. If we want better outcomes for our students, we have to start by improving conditions in their classrooms. Because when we support educators, we build better schools, and we have the opportunity for a brighter future for our students. I'm Robert McCauley, and this is the change that I want to fight for our kids, our families, and our teachers.
Next question. What are your thoughts on how to retain and encourage teachers and service employees to work for Berkeley County Schools? And we'll start at my far right with Mr. Wright.
Of course, you had to give me the hardest question first.
Oh, that's not the hardest one. No. I'm saving that one.
All right. No, how to retain and recruit. That's a challenge. I talk to our HR department all the time, and the challenge is there's just not enough people going in education, as was spoken about before. How to keep our educators here, number one thing is to meet with them, listen to them, and implement what they think is the right thing to do. They are the experts. They're in the classrooms. They know what's going on. So their advice and their point of view needs to be taken into account. when people feel that what they're saying matters and change is happening because of that, they're more likely to stay than in an environment where they're just ignored. I've made it my point to visit every single school in our county and meet with our educators to make sure that I'm hearing from them rather than just from the administration, because I need to get the full picture in order to do a job successfully. So by taking the time to talk to people, I've been able to ask the correct questions at our board meetings and ask the questions of our staff to find out, am I being told the truth? That's one of the things that's hard sometimes as a board member, is knowing the truth and getting to the bottom of things and finding out what is right. So I think the best way to retain staff is by listening to them and doing what is best for our students. To recruit, it's by those teachers that are doing an excellent job and are happy with their jobs, talking about the positives of being an educator. We hear so much about the negative, and if our students and parents and everyone else hears that, why would they ever want their child to be an educator as well? If they hear more and more about the positives, then we'll get more reinforcements.
Ms. Reed.
So I think that when it comes to recruiting and retention, I know everybody wants to talk a lot about the salaries for West Virginia teachers and staff, and that is definitely an issue. But I really believe that the quality of the education is going to be forefront, be above the salary. If we had a magic wand, we'd all be able to recruit all the best people and bring them into West Virginia. But what is going to bring them in?
Well, they do well. They do well. I mean, we can't expect to pay our teachers $40,000 and $50,000 and expect them to try to buy a house in Martinsburg, West Virginia right now that costs $300,000. Can't do it. And you can't expect them to know that in southern West Virginia, they're getting the same salary as they're getting in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and they can buy a house for $60,000. Teachers, it's not that they're underappreciated, they're overworked and underappreciated. We've got a system that has limited what they can do in the classroom as far as instruction, as far as discipline, and as far as what they can and cannot do all day long while they have those students in their classrooms. When we have students that can literally do whatever they want to do, I've heard a teacher say, I literally had a student get up, walk out of class, go outside, vape, come back in, and he got a lunch detention. That's not discipline. That is doing what you want to do when you want to do it. So somehow, some way, we have got to get to Charleston and say, you know what? We need to fix this. It's not a we or us, it's all of us problem. And until we get that done, it's not going to get any better. We've got to pay teachers well, we've got to make sure they're appreciated, and we've got to let them discipline these kids, because without that, you're spending 45 minutes of instruction time trying to get little Johnny to sit down. That's not what they're going to get paid for.
This is Kathy Funk, Amores. I think it's a five-fold approach. We need to look at teaching and learning is the pillar one. That is the teachers. The teachers are educators who taught me how to learn, how to listen, how to lead. We need to listen to them first. I think the core needs to be the teachers. From that standpoint, listening to what their goals are, not my goals. I'm here to advocate for teachers. I'm here to advocate for their goals, what they want to see in the classroom. Then we go to the second part, which is looking at the student. If the teachers aren't getting the support, then whatever we decide with the student is not going to follow through. Third, we look at the structures. No teacher wants to come to a building knowing that the AC is not going to work today. No teacher wants to come to a building that, again, the rooms haven't been cleaned, or I'm responsible for maintaining my room at my cost. The next level is looking at the support staff. Teachers need the counselors, We need the cooks. We need the janitorial staff. We need the bus drivers. All those have to be supported as well. And then lastly is the central office. The central office is meant to maintain, number one, the teachers, then the students, and the support staff.
I think we need to, we need to increase the Jump Start program that promotes students to get into teaching. We used to do that with full force, and I think we've let down on that some. I think we also need to increase and look at the high schools for paraprofessionals and ECATs and bus operators. We need to start there and promote that being a service personnel and working in a school system can be a good thing and actually a good starting salary for a young person. We need to continue to attract the community, people working in the public, to come into teaching and get an alternative certification. I think workplace culture is important. Positive environment to work in. I know at times it cannot be, and we need to make employees feel valued. Offering additional incentives for people to come to work. Increase our benefits. We need a strong engagement with our universities and colleges. And one thing I will say, $240 million was allocated for the Hope Scholarship, and $50 million was allocated for teachers and service personnel's salary. What does that tell us of how teachers and service personnel are felt about in this state, or that we want to get more of them here? There's something wrong with that picture.
Well, I feel it's kind of twofold. I'll address the pay thing first. I had to go across the border to work because I retired from the state and I couldn't teach here, which I probably would have if I could have done that. In that one school, there's probably 7 West Virginia teachers, and several of them have family here, and they would love to be here. They even come back to coach because their heart's here. So a pay raise, a locality pay, for an area like us would be invaluable. So I would hate to think about how many West Virginia teachers are stretched across the county that I'm in, and it's just a few extra miles down the road, and they would love to be here. The other thing is the teachers are leaving for other reasons than pay. You talk to them, they're frustrated, they're angry, sometimes they're scared. That's a different world. There was a first grade kid that shot a teacher. That's a world that we've never lived in. And unfortunately, we have to think about that, every day. But to keep teachers here, we have to make their environment better. We have to make their day better and safer for them to want to stay in education, because I've lost numerous teacher friends to FEMA, to the FBI, to anywhere they could go, because I just can't do this anymore, is what they've said. So we need to make the environment better, and we need to have respectful, caring leadership above us that works with you and just doesn't just demand what you need to do to make things better. It's a whole team thing.
Okay, I believe it's going to take a lot. The first thing I think we need to look at is training. We need to dig deep in there and see what our educators and all of our staff need. And we need to all be on the same page. And I believe that starts in central office down to the bottom. And we all have to have the same trainings so that we understand. And I believe central office employees should also have to be in the classroom twice a year, maybe. I don't know. But they need to see what is happening in our schools before they make decisions on what we should do. I think that is part of having those hard conversations. We cannot shy away from them anymore. We cannot sugarcoat things or take a turd and sprinkle glitter on it and paint it and say it's pretty, because that's not working anymore. We need to stop with the one-way-fits-all approach to behavior. Nothing works the same for every child. We know this. There's research, and we have to do better. Another thing is the Department of Education. It has percentages of what our county is supposed to follow when it comes to how we help students. We need to go to them and tell them this doesn't work for Berkeley County. I'm sorry, but 3% getting behavioral supports is not working. Another thing is several years ago, Detroit, their schools were collapsing. And what brought it out was the fact that educators and the rest of the community got together with the parents and they rebuilt their schools.
Thank you.
So I'm a rather simple person, and I think it boils down to this. It's culture, period. Our people are our best recruiters. If the conditions on the ground were such that our teachers felt comfortable inviting their friends to come work beside them, we would be bursting at the seams with people to fill these positions. I don't think that's the case, and I could be wrong. So I look at this from this perspective. If we want to fix this problem, others have mentioned we do need to address this from the central office. But my understanding of how this works is if someone from the central office is let go, they are essentially most often returned to the classroom. So whatever toxicity or whatever culture that we're trying to root out of the central office, we're just embedding that into our schools. I would advocate for giving the school boards more control over the composition of the central office, to allow the superintendent to continue to handle staffing within the school building, but to give us more of a say of what that central office staff looks like so that we can positively affect the culture that we really want to establish in our school district.
Okay. Next question. What are your thoughts regarding the way Berkeley County Schools is currently being ran, and how would you include the ideas brought to you by teachers and service professionals? And now we'll start with Ms. Long.
I think we run it efficiently and effectively. Could we change some things? Sure. There's always room for change. I welcome anyone's ideas and input. I get a lot of emails, texts, phone calls, and I act upon them, and we work together with the board and the superintendent and try to find out a solution. And I actually try to research the solution, try to find out what the issue is before I even take it further than that. Sometimes I can fix something on my own, and that's beyond what we're supposed to do, but I'm sorry. Sometimes things need to be fixed with comfort and with a person that trusts you.
Mr. Sherrard.
Unfortunately for Berkeley County, we've went through 5 superintendents in like 8 years. It's just been a whirlwind of change. Nothing has stuck for more than a school year or two. The teachers are so frustrated about training on one thing and then going to another. I know as principal I had 3 different math assessments to try out in a matter of like 4 years when I was doing that. So we need consistency. On the other hand, there is a lot of change going on. I'm not privy to all the information that went into those changes. I hope they weren't taken as something that it was opinion. I hope they were the best changes for the situations that were going on to help our county. And honestly, a lot of corporations have changed for the best with a great deal of change. That's to be seen. But one thing I do want to address is I don't look at the squeaky wheels on social media because there's only a few of the thousands of people in our county. But too many people have personally come to me and have been been treated with some arrogance and disrespect from leadership in a very condescending way, and that can never happen like that.
I've been very involved with Berkeley County Schools for years, through all of those changes with superintendents. And I would say that it's better than it was, but there's a clear disconnect. There is one set that believes everything is going according to plan, and another sector of people who can't take it anymore because it's just too many changes at one time.
So I think that our teachers on the ground know what's best for their students. And when they're screaming from the rooftops that we are relying way too much on ed tech and we are not allowing our teachers to teach, then I think we have a problem. And so I would advocate for really assessing how much ed tech that we need in the classroom. At what ages is that ed tech appropriate? And are there alternatives that we can do to offer these kids a better option, better alternative? Some things that happened in the past at schools that I've been affiliated with, they used to switch classes at the intermediate level, and they would group kids according to ability level so that there was less differentiation required in order to challenge each of these students in order to get them to where they need to grow. And I'd like to see us do more things like that.
Ms. Morris.
Having children recently graduate from Berkeley County school system, I've seen some wonderful things. I also have taken care of children of other families as they've gone through Berkeley County school system, and I've seen wonderful things. But I also have seen things that make me question how we approach or the decisions that were made. But I also realize as everything goes along, we have to have growth. And growth starts with a good foundation, which is our teachers and our teaching aides. What happens in the classroom is where our growth happens. It happens with our staff, and it happens with the students. And the students are only going to grow as good as we have as our foundation. So the community is a factor. And the community, which is what I'm including myself and everyone here.
Is it yellow? No? Okay. Sorry.
I'm going to talk about the big elephant in the room. We are stacking the board office with more employees than we have teachers. Every time I turn around, if a teacher leaves, they end up in the board office. Not only do they end up in the board office, they end up with a better and bigger salary. So we have those people that are saying, you know what, I can do whatever I want because I'm going to end up in the board office making a lot of money and doing very little. So that kind of sets a precedence when you know that you have teachers who have left these schools and are now working in the board office doing very well. And those teachers are sitting there thinking to myself, I come in here every day and I deal with little Johnny and I do my best. I do my best all day, every day. But I've got a teacher who abused children. I have a teacher who barely showed up to class. I have teachers who have done every and anything other than teach, and they end up at the board office. So what we have to do is stop stacking the board office. And in my opinion, we could probably get rid of 50% of the staff at the board office, put them back in the classrooms, and we would run effectively.
So I think just like anything, you're going to have people who are very content and happy, and people who are very frustrated. So what I am seeing is that staff is very frustrated, very overworked, very under-supported, and parents and students are increasingly frustrated because parents are not getting the answers that they're looking for. Students are having to contend with the behavior issues within the classrooms as well. They don't want to have their time taken up by students with behavior issues. There are students there that really want to learn. There are students that want to be high achievers, and they are getting left behind. I had said last night we have a very unique opportunity with where we are with currently approximately 20,000 students in the schools. With the building that's happening here in this county and the enrollment that's going to go up, we have a unique place to be able to separate ourselves and put ourselves as a leader in the state for public schools.
Okay, I'm going to start with the second part of the question, which is how to implement educator changes. One of the things that I've done is I've met with educators. I've met with teachers from Hedgeville Elementary School. They were having issues with the grading system. They did not like how the report card was framed. So I sat down. I met with them. They had a perfect plan. I advocated for that amongst the board, and we voted to change that because it works what's best for the students and our community to help the parents understand what little Johnny or Sue is learning and how well they're learning it and what they need help with. Part of my motivation for running was because for years it seemed like the people that were friends of people in the board office were getting positions of high authority, and I wanted that to stop. So I pushed for a better and more concise nepotism policy. I had my brother has left this county, his wife has left this county, and I wanted them back here to work here and help our students to learn. So I see the work that the central office does, and I appreciate it. I wish others could see it as well.
Okay. I'm going to let you take a 1-minute break to get your thoughts back together. Let me get my thoughts back together. And since we're being televised, it will be 1 minute and be right back.
Classical Christian Academy in Martinsburg is looking for joyful, dedicated primary lead teachers for grades K through 4 to join our vibrant team for the 2026-27 academic year. We're searching for educators who believe in more than just lesson plans, teachers who inspire a love of learning, build confidence, and weave biblical truth into every subject. At TCCA, we offer so much more than a classroom. With a 100-acre campus full of outdoor adventures, daily research-based agriculture classes unlike any school in the state, movement-based instruction, equestrian education, and bi-weekly student choice clubs, and a Christ-centered classical education that connects learning to real life. Our students don't just thrive, they flourish, and so do our teachers. If you're passionate about laying a strong foundation for young learners and want to be part of something bigger, we'd love to hear from you. Email your resume to Rachel Hull at RachelHullTCCA@outlook.com. That's Rachel Hull TCCA@outlook.com to apply or learn more. The Classical Christian Academy is located at 7192 Arden Noble Road, Martinsburg, West Virginia 25403.
Back. Thank you all for your brief break. We want to make sure that we're being fair to everyone and being fair to our viewers out there too. So we'll go on to the next question. What is your position on education technology and one-to-one devices for students, including our primary students? And this time I'm going to start with Ms. Reed, and we're going to go down this way, and Mr. Wright will finish it up.
So you cannot get away from technology. We can't prohibit technology from the students at any grade level. It's a factor of our lives. It is there all the time. But the but in that is that I think even the students are getting frustrated with the amount of time that they are on the Chromebooks. And the teachers, therefore, are probably going to be equally as frustrated that they are unable to teach in a more standard fashion, basically. So I think that the technology is very important. They need to know how to use it, but it is a matter of the grade level and the amount of time in which they should be brought into the learning process for the students.
Ms. Jenkins.
Yeah. Technology is great. I have a 5-year-old niece, and when my phone acts up, I hand it to her, and she can fix it. So, it's great, but it has its place. We are now almost 100% on iPads. Kids are forgetting how to communicate because all day long they're either on their phone or they're on their iPad. So when it comes to having a conversation, it's very minimal. You'll sit in a car with teenagers and they will literally text each other sitting in the car, like right next to each other. They're texting each other and I'm going, what are you doing? I just asked her a question. She's sitting right there. So I think technology has its place, but I also know that technology in schools, it's tagging kids. It's tracking everything these kids do, and it's going to follow them. So I think there comes a time when you finally say, we're going to learn how to read and write, and we're going to put that tablet down, and teachers are going to be able to interact with their kids, because right now, they're not. They feel like they're supervisors for an iPad. We're going to give you this iPad and you're going to do the work and we're just going to stand here and supervise you. Take that iPad and give them a few minutes of instruction. Get that pencil and paper out, because that's usually how you memorize things, is by writing it, seeing it, and looking at it, and get it done that way.
Learning starts with the development of the brain, and the development of the brain requires hand-eye coordination. And learning is a 3-factor fold in our brain. So fine motor skills with handwriting, having a book and actually touching and turning pages has a stronger memory development than looking at a resource on a screen. And third, taking your own notes with a paper and pencil also requires judgment, processing, and it has a shown factor in memory. Now, do I think that we need to go all the way back to books? No, because as they go through high school and they graduate, they're not going to go to a job that uses paper and pencil. So we have to integrate technology, just as we are doing with every career that currently exists. Do teachers need to use technology? They do, but they need to use it at their comfort level. They need to use the smart board. They need to use their computers, but they need to do it with the way that they want to do it. Do we need a framework with a curriculum that gives them autonomy to use the technology? Yes. But do we need to mandate that everything that they do require it? No. But the thing is, if any child leaves the high school and is going on to a career, they need to how to function as we move on. Technology can't scare us, and that's the fact.
I think technology needs to be limited. I'm from the old school. I like pencil and paper. I don't like a Kindle. I like to flip pages, and I actually think students need more and more of that. We need to get back to cursive writing instead of going online and putting your signature in with just your initials. I think primary students, I could be wrong, but I think they use it for testing. So there's a lot of avenues that we can't get rid of technology for. But even if we limit that in the school system, it has to be limited at home too. Kids get on their devices from the time they go home to the time they go to bed. So it's a double-edged sword. But as far as us getting away from technology, I think we can limit it, but I don't think we totally get rid of it.
I think we need to limit technology as the Chromebooks and the iPads across all grade levels. I think we need to go back on that. At the elementary level, what I saw was when they were first introduced, there was an incredible wow factor. There weren't computers and iPads in every home. Smartphones weren't there completely. The kids really were motivated by these iPads in the tests and the remediation we were giving them. Well, now everything they have at home is more exciting than what we're putting in front of them. So the wow factor is going for elementary kids, and they need the hands-on stuff on top of that. High school, I think we need to back off of it, but we do need to give high school kids the basic technology skills to walk out into a world that's full of tech. If we don't at least give them those basic skills where they can enter a program, whether it's through tech or through college, to have the skills they need to pursue something of computer engineering or programming, something along those lines.
In my opinion, we can't preach about relationships and one caring adult if they're in front of a computer all day. We have a very good mission statement on social emotional, but I feel like the technology cuts our throats. We have different learning styles in children, and technology defeats the purpose of meeting those tactile needs and any other type of learning style they have. When it comes to technology, it rewires the brain. So not only is it taking away from the development of how children are supposed to be, it's also adding those behavior issues. And any therapist you talk to, and I've spent years with them with my own children, will tell you technology is the enemy and it will create behaviors.
So I think we can all agree that COVID is behind us. And the accommodations that we had to make in a hurry to get devices in front of these kids so that they could continue learning from home, we don't really need those as much anymore. I work for a big technology company, and I didn't get there through a screen. Most of my tests in school were on paper and pencil, with Scantrons, for example, or written out in little composition books that we would have to turn in. And at the elementary level, I think that's critically important. I think we should go back to the iPad carts that we had for grade level, rather than having one-to-one devices in each classroom. You look at the cell phones. We don't have cell phones in the classrooms in the county anymore. Why is that? Because the cell phones are competing for teacher attention. Well, these devices are doing the same thing. The second a teacher turns their back to look on another kid, they're changing their screens, they're doing what they're not supposed to, they're not engaged. Not the same way that they would be if the teacher were actually allowed to teach. I think we need to get back to reading novels in school, writing vocabulary words, practicing our handwriting, interacting with one another. Whatever we're doing now, there's lots of room to change. I'm not going to pretend that I know what all the answers are, but I do think that limiting tech, especially at the elementary school level, is something that we should highly consider.
I would agree with pretty much what everyone has said in regards of limiting the tech. I think we can't get away from it. I think it is a great resource for our students, but I think in some cases, as we talked about the teacher shortage, and we have people with alternative certs, sometimes that technology can help them because they're learning. They can help them to educate our students better. So it's a good resource for our staff, not so much for our students, which is one reason why, as he just mentioned, we got rid of the cell phones in classrooms because of the distractions. Limiting the other tech as well can help, but I think it can be a great resource if used the correct way. I think in some cases I've heard that people are being mandated to use it. I think some have gotten a little overzealous in terms of how much they are telling some of our staff to use the technology and how much testing with iReady and iExcel and things like that. I think communication needs to be better from the central office in terms of how to use the technology, and in training and professional development in terms of this is how you can use the technology to help your students. Our senior teachers that are doing a wonderful job, that have a great program that they barely need to use the technology, that's fine. But some of our newer teachers, here's a great way to get you up to speed to where our senior and more experienced teachers are, so that you don't have to feel that you're not adequate. We want our teachers to feel that they're doing a wonderful job and the technology can be an asset instead of a hindrance.
All right. Here's the part of the program that's going to get me in trouble, because I'm going to go off script a little bit and ask you a question or two from my perspective on the state level. I've heard remarked a few times tonight how we're last in all the wrong things. in education. And I would contend to you that that's not entirely true. We may be last in a specific test score, but we have a lot of positives across the state of West Virginia. For example, we're in the top 5 in the nation in the achievement advances since COVID. We have one of the best transportation programs in the nation. We have one of the best child nutrition programs in the nation. We have and have had for many years the leading pre-K program in the nation. We have one of the largest numbers of our vocational and technical students who take and pass their licensure exams. We're doing great things in our classrooms each and every day. So my question to you is going to be, how will you promote the positives in the Berkeley County schools? And there are a number of positives beyond what I've mentioned just in this county alone. And we're going to start with Mr. Sherrard, and we'll go, I'll tell you who will go next. It won't be in the same order that we had earlier. And I told you, Mr. Wright, that wasn't going to be the toughest question, that you started first. So.
This is another twofold for me. You definitely have to promote what the positives are in the county. We have a wonderful 20,000 students. We have a lot of very caring educators. It's hard not to focus on the struggles, because those are the things that seem to weigh you down the most. But we do a good job here promoting the newsletters, the events, the website, the getting the journal, getting press to come look at the events that we're doing. There's a lot of promotion here, but sometimes when you push that promote the positive, you neglect to let people know that there are troubles that they can help you with. So while you're promoting everything, that is great, but sometimes you have to get in not pessimist mode but realist mode to talk about some of the problems. But promoting the positive is very important.
All right, Ms. Jenkins.
I really think we have an incredible VOTAC program here. I've been there. I've walked through it. I've had, a nephew graduate from electrician school. We've got great teachers. We've got teachers that really care, or they would not be here. It's not like they're blowing it out of the water with their salaries. So they care. They're here because they care about the students. So many teachers, and I know personally, they buy things for their classrooms out of their own pockets. They will go to the store and say, I've got a student that needs whatever, so they will pay for it. I think we stress the fact that the teachers here really are great people. They get up every day and they want to make their classrooms, their students succeed.
Ms. Ledford.
I have to agree that we do really great at focusing on the positives in this county. It's hard for me to hear the positives without being able to look realistically on solutions as well. It's not about pointing out what's wrong, but just making ourselves better and getting to the point where we can focus on something and take it even higher. When it comes to the shout outs, whenever the superintendent is on the radio, or anyone else for that matter, they are constantly praising students and staff. I just think there needs to be a little bit more follow through.
Ms. Reed.
So all of those points that you highlighted are amazing. Those are amazing things, and they should be spoken about and highlighted over and over again. But I think what's happening is that the issues that are happening in the classrooms with service personnel just across the board is getting overshadowed because those issues are not getting resolved. And those issues are just going to keep building and building, and it's going to, I don't want to say it's not negating all of these amazing things, but at the core of it is our staff, is our students, is our parents, and that is where we need to fix those issues so that that can be on that list as well.
Mr. McCauley.
So like the others, I'll give credit where it's due. I feel like our current central office and our board do a fantastic job of recognizing individual accomplishment, whether it's a student or a cook that, dresses up for Spirit Day and really lifts up the kids, whether it's an outstanding bus driver who, navigates treacherous roads. I could name probably 100 examples of all of the individual accomplishments. What I would love to see at some point is us to celebrate some milestones for some initiatives that really matter. Hey, look at us, we met our recruiting goal for this quarter, and we're not having to have as many substitutes. Or hey, we managed to improve the reading scores on third grade level this quarter, and our kids are really knocking it out of the park. I would love to see more of that in addition to just recognizing the great work that our educators and service personnel and administrative staff are doing each day.
Mr. Wright.
For me, I think, first I'd like to apologize because I keep saying teachers. I should just say educators, because I consider service personnel educators as well. When you get on the bus and you see your bus driver smile and start your day off the right way, that's a part of education. I think one thing we can do is keep promoting those staff that are doing an excellent job. We recently had Katie Hilliard from Spring Mills that was on a national website for her initiatives in her classroom and what she's doing. We could do the same thing with our service personnel, maybe a day in the life of a teacher, something that would show our young people in our community what an awesome job and what a important job education is. We always hear the negatives. You're going to constantly hear the negatives. I hear negatives on my job all the time. But if we focus so much on the negative, we'll never get people that will want to help us. We need people that want to help us because they see that you're doing a wonderful job. We have reduced the number of permanent subs. It was well over 200. It's down, I believe, like 185 now or something like that. Still a very large number, but it's much less than what it was. So that's some improvement. And I think we need to continue to stress more people getting into education, getting their alternative certifications. We have people that are struggling in the employment field right now. Come work for Berkeley County Schools, make it a better place for all of us, for our entire community. The school system impacts the community, and if the school system is doing a wonderful job, the community will improve as well. It'll decrease crime because people won't want to steal because they've got an education to get a job. And they won't get on drugs because they'll have the hope that their education has given to them and that their teachers and service personnel have implanted into them. So we continue to do those things, continue to promote the positives. It'll help our entire community.
Ms. Long.
I think we do well at recognizing students and staff. That's one of the best parts of our board meeting is the recognitions, the caring educator, the DSA, the volunteer of the month, the student of the month. I do think sometimes the negatives outweigh the positive, and we need to do a better job on focusing on the positive. One of the things that I think is very important is our rankings. Even though that Berkeley County's ranked 39th in math in the state, we've increased that in the last 2 years, and we've moved up. And the ranking of 32nd and for reading and science, although that's low, we're moving up. So, I appreciate staff for doing all that. That's their expertise that is moving the needle to where it keeps increasing every year. So I thank them and I applaud them for that. So, COVID, we can blame COVID constantly on things, but we've got to stop that and just continue to move up. So increasing those rankings means a lot. So we need to promote all that.
Ms. Morris.
I believe that giving value to what you say means more than recognizing them at a meeting. I think that the positives happen when we, as a community, support the teachers, support the school system. We can continue to say, look how we improve, but what we need to do is have community engagement at all levels and show them who they are and who we are. The school system actually has so many positives, but negatives always seem to be louder. So community engagement, community investment at the local level, not necessarily the state level, because right now I feel like the state doesn't recognize local, is where we need to start.
And I apologize that I gave state statistics. That's my role as the state president. I'm sure that Jana and Georgiana could have given you individual accomplishments here in Berkeley County. I knew I'd get in trouble going off steps. All right, next question. What changes would you make to ensure that our reading instruction reflects the science of reading? And how will you measure whether those changes are actually improving student literacy? And let's see, we're going to start now with Ms. Reed.
So I'm not quite sure. So I'm not afraid to come up here and say that I'm not sure.
I'm also going to agree that I'm not exactly sure where to start with this. I do know a little bit of the science of reading. I was able to actually take my substitute teacher certification, and in that process I also started my paraprofessional, and I realized that it was actually harder to become a paraprofessional than it was to become a substitute teacher. So that was very disheartening. It took me about 2 weeks to become a substitute teacher. So when it comes to the science of reading, I think we probably need to teach our substitutes that as well.
Mr. McCauley.
So I'm not a teacher, and I'm not going to pretend to know this answer. But what I can say is that I know how I was taught to read. And I feel that our primary school classrooms are way too big to give the kids the reading support that they need. We need more aides. Maybe we do something like the Grandma program, where we bring in, partner with senior services around Berkeley County and surrounding counties, to where we can get that ratio of teacher to students down, especially in kindergarten through third grade. And we give them just more one-on-one support when they need it most, when they're first learning how to read, and really starting to build up their vocabulary. Because if we can nail it at the early grades, then it's going to be much easier for them at the higher grades, and we're going to have to spend less time remediating them, and we can spend more time teaching them.
Mr. Wright.
So this is my opportunity to plug for the Read Aloud program. I'm very serious. I did that for 2 years, and it's a great opportunity to get children excited about reading, especially if you know how to do voices and things like that. The kids really get into the books, and they'll remember you forever. I think that we have implemented the science of reading this year. I think one of the main things we do is make sure we have follow-up. Ask our educators, how is it working? Are the children really grasping what's going on? Are you understanding how to teach it? And once we get that feedback, then we can keep rolling from there. If there's tweaks that need to be made, go ahead and make them. But the key is to have follow-up, find out what's working, what's not working, and how to make it better by those that are trying to implement it. And again, parents at home, please read to your children. Get them excited, and just find something that they enjoy reading. It doesn't have to be something super educational. It could be a comic book, a graphic novel, whatever it is. help them to learn to love to read, because when you love to read, then that will take you anywhere you need to go.
Ms. Long.
Well, I'll plug Damon's Read Aloud program, too. I think that's so important, and trying to get our students to read, that's a great start. We need to make sure that we have input from staff. I think we need to do better at that. We've started focus groups to get input from staff to see. They're on the ground. They know what's happening in their classrooms more than anybody, principals and staff. So I think that's the best thing that we can start out with, and then keep working on it. It's a work in progress, and until we find out how they feel and how it works for us, we'll just continue on the path, and I hope that we can do better with it or go to another route.
Mr. Morris.
Maybe I'm too excited to answer this question. I feel there's several parts to this. And for learning and teaching, it starts with the teachers. They're the educators. They're the ones who have brought this curriculum to the forefront throughout multiple states, and it is evidence-based shown that this is a good process. But the initiation and the engagement with the teachers are the problem. We actually need to spend more time, and I know everyone's going to cringe when I say professional development. The teachers need the time to learn the curriculum, understand the framework. They need to have dedicated time to actually have this, not a day in a meeting, but actually multi-tiered development. They need to have collaborative time with their groups that's scheduled, not interrupted with other responsibilities. They need to have teachers or administrators go into the rooms to cover the rooms while they're in this collaborative, dedicated time that's been built into their schedule. Thirdly, we need curriculum transparency on the website so that parents are engaged in what their students are to be doing for that school year. Not just a blurb, this is what they're supposed to hit by that time of year. They actually need more plain language. Take it down. We talk in healthcare all the time that when we give patient instructions, they need to be at a third grade level for the adults in the room to understand. We actually need to do that with our websites so that everyone understands and when they're all comprehending at the same time what their student is learning in the classroom.
Okay. Next question. How would you address the shortages in service personnel positions? Oh, I'm sorry. I knew I would do that before this day was over. Mr. Sherrard and Ms. Jenkins, I apologize. But I knew you all had such wonderful answers.
Yeah.
I had an answer for this one. I didn't want to pass it up.
Can we edit that on the live on the feed?
We're not putting people on the moon. We're teaching little kids to read. I'm so glad to see West Virginia head back to just some basics with the science of reading, phonics, phonemic awareness, just the basic steps that make kids read. And kids need to read. At the upper level of what's not a frustration for them. The more they read, the better readers they'll be. West Virginia, I think, took a little thing from Mississippi. They called the Mississippi Miracle. And they went back to the basics. They went back to some third grade retention. And at this point, they're touting that as a major accomplishment. They went from like the bottom in the 40s to in the top 25 in their scores in the matter, I think, of like 9 years, because they went back to basics. They didn't pass kids along that couldn't read, who would never catch up and be frustrated for the rest of their lives. So I think we're in a good direction. The teachers don't need to be piled with a bunch of fancy, crazy things because we're teaching kids to read.
Ms. Jenkins, again, I apologize.
First of all, I think we need to just quit pushing them forward. Like we push kids forward that can't read, and we do it all the time. I think in kindergarten, first and second grade, there should be a teacher and a teacher's aide in every one of those classes. I was in Frederick, and they are trying to implement this program where they only get the iPads the last 10 minutes of the class. The rest of the class is used on instruction. You will go to that chalkboard and you will write words. Kids get involved with other kids. That's just the nature of who they are. So if little Johnny's going to the chalkboard and he's writing cat and all the other kids are involved, then that means that they are learning together. We all know that there are some parents that are absent. Unfortunately, they are. These kids are raising themselves. They're learning to read themselves. Teachers can't spend individualized time on every single student. But what we need to do is we need to start from ground one and say, in kindergarten, this is your curriculum. And before we pass you to first grade, this is what you're going to know and this is what you're going to learn. You can't get in first grade and then all of a sudden want little Johnny to catch up in kindergarten. You can't let him get to third grade and say, oh, we forgot second and first. The parents might be mad, but they might also get involved in their kids' lives when they realize that little Johnny's in kindergarten because he can't spell cat, you know? So I think at some point we have to start with the basics and saying, yes, these kids do need technology, but we also need for them to read and write and go to that chalkboard when the teacher calls on them and says, can you write this word on the chalkboard or can you put it on that piece of paper?
Everybody answered now, right? Good, I can go on. All right. How would you address the shortages in service personnel positions here in Berkeley County? And we'll start with Ms. Ledford.
Well, since I am a service personnel, one of the big things I think we can do is go into our high schools and do a work program where even if it's just half a day, those students can come and learn what it's like to be service personnel. And at the same time, that's really going to help with inclusion in our classes. I think we need to really evaluate how we're following policies and are we supporting our staff in the right way? Because when we start doing that, we're actually going to get more employees.
Okay, Ms. Reed.
So I think it is a matter of if you have a friend who loves their job in a school, they're going to say, hey, come work here. This is a great place to work, and we want you to be a part of it. I have a friend who's in Jefferson County who she wanted to move up within the school system. She does not have a degree, but she wanted to get into the school system, so she actually got on the list and started her job as a part-time janitor. And now she is a full-time secretary in one of the schools there. So there are definitely opportunities for people, especially if you're willing to take a step back for a little bit in order to get ahead in the future.
Okay, Mr. Sherrod, I won't forget you this time.
A lot of the things that we've talked about for retaining and getting teachers is the same for everyone, for every person. Pay is important. Pay is very important. They need to be treated with respect and caring like everyone else. That should just be a second nature to us. They are wonderful people. Some of the best time I spent was 10 or so minutes I would sit with my head custodian, and we would talk about the day and life, and they're wonderful, intelligent, and useful to as much as any of the teachers are. We're all important there, so they need to know that no one's any more important than anyone else. We just all have different jobs. One thing that's a problem is the schedules, and I'm not sure how much can be changed with that. If you're not getting enough days of pay to support your family, it's hard to find a summer job. It's not like being a teenager and looking for that summer job. So I don't know if that can be addressed, but that's a problem there too that would help with the pay. And we have to, actively seek service personnel as strongly as we do the educational teachers.
Ms. Jenkins.
Service personnel. I've got a very good friend who works in the cafeteria at one of the schools, knows every kid's name when they walk through that line. She is just amazing. She does it because she loves the kids, and she does it because the kids love her. She's like, those kids know my name. They call me by name. I call them by name. But you also have this fine line of they discipline just as much as the teacher. She said, I will call them out and I will tell them it's not your turn. When it's your turn, you can come step in line. And so the discipline is kind of universal, but these teachers, service personnel, bus drivers, you've got bus drivers who have kids, have parents standing there at the bus cursing them out because they're 10 minutes late. Well, if you're sitting at home all day with no job, then being 10 minutes late is not your biggest problem. I'm sorry. But no, I think universally everybody, if you come together, work together, teachers are definitely underpaid, I'm sorry, for what they do in the classrooms after hours, during the day, on the weekends. Seems like their job is 24/7. The service personnel, sometimes their job is 24/7 too. When school's called off and they've got that 2-hour delay, their lives change just like the students' lives change, just like the teachers' lives change. So universally, I think if everybody just comes together and works together, life is good.
Ms. Long.
Well, this is my belly whack. I represented service personnel just about my entire career. They have always felt that they weren't important, that they didn't matter. Many times they felt like the person that they were working with on the classroom or a cook for a principal, that they weren't respected or they felt like they weren't good enough when they knew they were doing the best job ever. I'd have employees come to me and say, I'm just no, you're not just you are an aide, you're a good aide, and that teacher couldn't operate that classroom without you, or vice versa. And I'm not taking away from the teacher, but there's a raise those people up to be made feel like they're important, that they are somebody, because they are somebody. We could not operate this school system if we didn't have service personnel. I'm telling you, now Dale, you know this, we could have closed the school system down and had just have a free-for-all if bus operators didn't pick up their kids. We can't do it without them, and we need to give them more respect. We've raised their service salaries to $30,000, but if you're two service people trying to make a living, that's $60,000. And that's the state pay scale. We raised it from 28. The average service personnel salary in Berkeley County was $28,000. I think they got about $2,700 more from us and what they'll get from the salary schedule. But that's not enough. These people got to feed their families. They are important to this system, and we need to make sure that we realize that and recognize that.
Ms. Morris.
Children's first exposure to professional environment is the education system. Their behaviors, their attitudes, their values come from the home, but they also come from the classroom and the school building that they spend the majority of their time. Service personnel are part of that system, and we need to show the value, the respect, and advocate for them just like we would a teacher or administrator. In the education system, we put value on a professional degree at the end of your education system. We need to put value on education no matter where it ends. Students need to see that the value in our personnel, the bus drivers, the counselors, the administrators who answer the phones. This is where we need to show them that that is a career that has just as much value. with value does become salary. We unfortunately in this country equate professional degrees with value and money. We need to refocus that in the school system and look at the value that a person gives to a job.
Mr. McCauley.
So admittedly, I know the least about this subject. But I will say that for me, everything comes down to culture. And I wonder if a lot of the same challenges that our service personnel are facing are the challenges that our educators in the classroom are facing, that they feel unheard, underappreciated, and not supported. And I wonder if we were to improve the overall conditions in our school system, if that might help increase their morale. So if we could get behaviors in check, for example, if that would help things. And for me, my faith is a very important part of who I am, and I believe in giving grace, and I believe in, treating other people the way that you would want to be treated yourself. And I think that goes a long way. Obviously we need to fight for pay for our service personnel, the same that we would for our teachers, but I think fixing culture issues has got to be number one.
Okay, Mr. Wright.
Okay, for me, I think one of the big things we have to do is we have to continue to reach out to the community and let them know about the opportunities for being a service personnel. Let them know about some of the flexibilities. If you're going to be a bus driver, here's an opportunity where you can get our children to school, you can still work another job, you can see your children, your children can be riding your bus and take them to school and things like that. We just need to promote the positives. I think another thing we need to do is stop, as was said earlier, saying they're just service personnel or putting down service personnel. We do that until the bus driver doesn't show up. Then Facebook explodes with, why didn't my bus driver show up? Well, he's sick. Or the school is dirty. Well, that's the importance that we overlook so many things because we don't see the importance of them. But service personnel are vital to the school system. If they, as I said before, if they're not there, they're definitely missed. And we will see how much our school system will deteriorate when they're not there. I think one thing we can do, I think several people mentioned pay. Well, as board members, we can't change state pay. But what we can do is partner with our legislators and partner with the Education West Virginia and have our unions push hard for our locality pay, rather than being segmented and saying, well, I understand that you have to represent the entire state, but we need to push for locality pay, because when Berkeley County, Jefferson County, Morgan County, and the other growing counties improve, it helps the entire state. If we can partner with those, then I think it can help. But as board members, we can't change that, but we can push and cooperate with others to have that happen. And we may even have to sue.
Ms. Ledford.
I missed that. I didn't have any.
Ms. Ledford.
I'm sorry. I started.
You started, okay.
Yes.
Ms. Reed. I've taken everybody now. I just asked you if I go.
I'll go again if you want me to.
No. Now, I'm going to ask you the next question, but then we're going to take a 3-minute break so you can get your thoughts together on this next question, because you asked me if that was the toughest question. No, here it comes. And I'm going off script again. So don't shoot me. The biggest part of education is getting the community involved, getting the parents, the grandparents, and the community involved. And once you do that, you can make a system that is better for the students and everyone else. As a board member, my question to you is going to be, what are your thoughts, and how do you think we should get the community and parents more involved in our schools? And we'll take a 3-minute break and be back in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Not sure where to go or who to trust with your flooring project? And start with Trips Flooring, proudly serving the area for more than 25 years, specializing in floor sanding and refinishing, along with installation of new flooring, including hardwood, tile, vinyl, laminate, carpet, and the hottest trend in flooring, luxury vinyl, tile, and luxury vinyl plank. Are you on a budget? Check out their warehouse, cash and carry, or call 304-229-7009, or visit them online at tripsfloorsanding.com.
My kids, you know I want the best for you, don't you? We need to have a conversation.
End-of-life planning is no one's favorite discussion, but the relief of having everything in place when the hour of need arrives is a gift. Give it to your family. Plan ahead with us.
Brown Funeral Homes, a leading provider of cremations, invites you to explore the many flexible options of cremation. From environmental considerations to the benefit of greatly reduced cost, it may be the perfect answer for your family. Online at brownfuneralhomeswv.com. Brown Funeral Homes, here for you.
Hi, Crescia Hornby here. Larry DeMarco, broker of Modern Realty Results, believes he has some of the best real estate agents in the Eastern Panhandle. Agents at Modern Realty Results have years of experience and knowledge of the local real estate market. Agents within the office work as a team to provide quality customer service. We strive to always ensure client satisfaction through handling every transaction with honesty and integrity, all while offering competitive rates. Modern Realty Results is veteran-owned and managed. Please call us at 262-4222, modernrealtyresults.com.
Life is evolving. Over the past decade, the way we do almost everything has changed. Get on your phone, see something you like, click on it, and it shows up at your door. Why should the way you have your car serviced be any different? Why waste your time going to a dealership service department when Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet will come to you? They service all makes, all models, and offer full parts and labor warranties. Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet will come to your door or office and service your vehicle while you're doing what you need to be doing, conducting that business meeting or mowing the lawn. Why take time out of your busy schedule when you don't have to? Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet's friendly, knowledgeable staff will come to you where you live or where you work for full service maintenance, from oil changes to tire rotations, brakes, batteries, multi-point inspections. They handle it all. Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet is committed to delivering the best of the best to their customers. Trust them to service your vehicle where you're at home or at work. Skip the time-consuming and terminal wait at the dealership. Schedule your appointment at fordofhagerstown.com or hancockchevy.com.
Join us once again for the Talk Radio WRNR TV10 candidate forums on Tuesday, April 21 from 8 a.m. until noon. We will host these forums once again at the Berkeley County Commission Chamber Meeting Room at 400 West Stevens Street, Martinsburg. The forum will feature candidates for contested seat races and will air live on TV10 Martinsburg, which is Comcast Cable TV Channel 10, on Talk Radio WRNR FM 106.5 at AM 740, and via our TV10 Martinsburg Facebook live stream. We hope to see you there.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those listening and watching at home. So you have the question that I posed to you before the break.
You want to read that again?
I didn't write it down.
I know.
Okay, that's why you want me to read it, right?
Maybe it'll change.
The biggest component to schools is getting the community, parents, grandparents, everyone involved in their child's education. That is one of the places where many times we're lacking.
Yes.
And part of it is that our parents and grandparents may have a fear of the school and want to be involved and just don't know how.
Right.
So as a board member, what are your thoughts and how would you recommend that we look at getting more involvement in our communities and schools, and with our parents and grandparents?
We have to figure out a way to communicate with everybody. Seems like sometimes the only time we communicate with parents or grandparents is when children are misbehaving, and sometimes that's, well, it's a hit or miss as well. So I think at some point we have to go back to just old school. You know what? Send that paper home that says, we need you to fill this out. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be anything really relevant, but we need to start making them feel like they are a part of their child's education. Could send it out and go, we send home the Cat in the Hat for little Johnny. Can you sign this piece of paper saying that he read this book? Don't know if he did or if he didn't, but somehow, some way, that parent has got to read that piece of paper. and say, yes, he did read that book. We also have to just start calling parents. I'm sorry, there has to be somebody somewhere that can sit in an office and say, we're calling the parents. Some way we've got to get them involved in student activities. I remember we used to have like the little circus kind of things where kids would play games and whatnot. Parents got involved. They came out and they were throwing the things and the water balloons and all kinds of stuff. I think we just have to incorporate more activities that range from everything to nothing. Some parents don't have money. So you start incorporating activities that don't require them to buy something. You just have to show up. We don't need your money. Somebody else who can afford an extra $5 will pay that. But let's start doing community activities. Let's do little things where everybody has to be involved. Call the parents and say, look, we don't need your money, but what we need is a bunch of volunteers. If you can just show up and stand at the gate and or assist with whatever, that is a bonus. But sometimes parents don't have the money, so they feel like,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Sherrard.
It's kind of proportional. Over my 20 years as principal, I've watched a decline in intrinsic desire to achieve in students, along with less parent participation. I watched that happen. What I have seen work are activities and rewards. If you can tell a student they have a reward and we want mom and dad to come see that, they will pressure those parents into being there. So at a school level, events that reward the kids, that the kids and the parents can have fun together, and as was said, free events, they do come to that, and you can get more activity. As a whole county, we have had some wonderful county-wide events. War Memorial Park, which bring a lot of people in. And at those events, you advertise the things that parents can get involved in, with the county, with the local schools. So it is a fight, but I think if you reach out to the community with fun events, with rewards for the parents to come to events at the school where they can come help, it will reach some of the parents, or at least more parents.
Ms. Morris.
Community engagement is hard with any level. I'm going to use the example of being a parent at Martinsburg High School with children in multiple activities. And it was a reoccurring theme that it was the same parents who showed up for everything, despite multiple engagements with families. When discussed with the families why, most of the time it came out that they didn't have the time. So we don't want to punish anyone who has to work 2 jobs. So we need to look at ways for community engagement that allows access, not with just coming to the classroom or the school, but other availabilities. One of the things I think is most important is when we look at when the children enter an elementary school, how do we present ourselves as the first school? How engaged do we allow the parents to be at that time? Some of the examples are, we know we have PTAs. Sometimes that's a little overwhelming for some families. Maybe it's the money factor, or maybe that the families have abilities that they just can't interact with others at a huge crowd. We already have parent-teacher conferences, but a lot of times parents are working or unable to attend. We need to look at the first entry point. What are the examples that maybe teachers already know about, maybe administrators already know about, maybe the personnel service staff already know, that they can give us an example to engage them at the first entry point in that student's life.
Ms. Long.
About 3 or 4 years ago, we had town hall events. Only 2 board members, I think, could show up at a time, but we did that. And with the 2 board members and the 3 other people that attended, that was about it. We publicized that well. thought we'd have a huge crowd. We had it at 3 areas of the county, and people just didn't show. So that was so disappointing. I think we need to try that again and see how it goes. Maybe try to do something different with it, but that might work now. I think schools do well at having parents come out, especially for events, fun fairs, things like that parents can participate in. We communicate that, though, through Schoology and things like that. We have grandparents raising kids, their grandkids. They don't get on Schoology or things like that. So we do need to communicate more with pencil and paper, the telephone, and do better at that. Unfortunately, so many parents aren't home in the evening or on the weekends. So that's tough for parents, and it's hurtful to kids because some of their parents can't come, or as I said, grandparents are raising them. Maybe having lunch with your student. We used to do that years ago. So I think there's things that we can do that we need to try to do again.
Ms. Reed.
So I actually think this is a great question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I've noticed that, especially in primary, elementary, middle schools, you'll have an active PTO. When you get to high school, there's nothing for the kids, for the parents. There's nothing to be engaged in at that level. But I think let me back up. As far as getting the parents and grandparents involved, I think that they would love to be involved more than fundraiser season. I think that is when they feel they're needed. That's the only time they're needed. So having fun activities, you can do Battle of the Bands, you can do alumni wars, you can actually invite alumni to football games, introduce them, tell where they're at today, what they're doing. Partnering more with local businesses. That's where you're going to get your money from. Let's stop trying to nickel and dime from the parents and from the grandparents for fundraisers. You can highlight students and their jobs and what they're doing and what they want to do for their careers. There's so many things that would be an easy way to get parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever, involved in that process.
Ms. Ledford.
I agree that when our children are in elementary school, that there's a lot of parent engagement and involvement. With that being said, you go into middle school and it's pushed that, they don't really need their parents as much. And there's less communication, even though that is the most vital time to have it. A lot of the things that we do, food is emphasized, that if you bring the food, the people will come. And I hate that. I don't think that we should be trying to just get people in the door. We need to actually do what the kids and the adults want. I don't think we should just focus on the parents, but it should be a whole community-wide effort. I love the idea of bringing in businesses and just doing different things. It doesn't have to be at a school. It can be anywhere, but we need to be able to talk about school and to talk about home without the defensiveness or, sadly, the blame that sometimes gets taken that way. I know it's not meant to, but I think we succeeded really well during COVID with the support that we gave everyone. We were always reaching out to check on families, and it seems like that's kind of gotten more frowned upon, and I'd like to bring that back.
Mr. Wright.
I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to do a better job of telling the stories of the impact that volunteering in our school system can make. Probably for the past 20 years, my parents have been leading the Talk to Me program. They're 75 now, and it would be great if we could have somebody young or some younger people help with that program. You go to the school, you sit, and you talk to the students. Help them. We have a mental health issue in our school systems, and this is a way for some of our churches and some of our retired citizens to get into our schools and to help and sit and talk to some of our students and help them work through their problems. We need to get we need to find a way to get people as passionate about education as they are about sports. Our football fields and stands are full of people, but years ago my daughter competed in the ACE competition in this little room over here. The only people that showed up were the parents. It'd be great, maybe, here's a TV10 plug, if TV10 could televise some of those competitions, or maybe the finals, like we used to see back in the day in DC. That would be something great to highlight some of our exceptional students and the great job that they're doing. The 12-hour shifts in our community don't help in terms of our parents being able to be involved and being able to make various events like parent-teacher conferences. But I think just showing the passion and talking about the stories of the impact that some of our volunteers have had for our students will encourage others to say, hey, I can do that too. I want to get in there and I want to help our students. I want to help our staff and make Berkeley County better.
Mr. McCauley.
So I think others have kind of hit on this a little bit. Kids invite their families when they're excited. And so if we can improve the culture and get kids excited about being in the classroom and learning again, then I think that will go a long way to getting the parents and grandparents enthusiastic about helping them. Excitement is contagious. And you asked about specific involvement. It's been mentioned PTA. What about classroom parents? Why don't we have at least one parent assigned to each classroom that helps handle some of the affairs for the classroom? That would be an opportunity for additional service. I also think we need to look at the community as a whole, though. Boys and Girls Club, CASA, faith community, and see how we can improve those relationships, get them into our schools a little bit more. One of the things that I'd like to see us do to kind of take the burden off of teachers is, can we create a 501c3 charity as a classroom closet, to where, every year at the beginning of school we ask, are there things that we can donate to the teachers, expo markers, dry erase, the Clorox wipes, those sorts of things. If we offer employer matching, maybe we can get more community involvement and having people help out with that. And then the last one I think is rather interesting, and I'll admit the idea is not my own. Why don't we have the athletic teams attend the cheerleading competitions and the band concerts? Those groups support the athletic teams. They should be able to support them in reverse.
Okay. Couple more questions. What do you view your role will be as a member of the Berkeley County Board of Education? What do you see your role as a member of this Board of Education? And we're going to start with Ms. Long.
I could see you eyeing me.
Oh, that's right.
You went like this and this, and you said.
Well, I'm trying to do this as fairly as I can.
I always felt like I was a fixer, and I feel like that's still my role, whether I was a fixer for service personnel or even helping all educators. I stay up at night trying to figure out how to fix a problem, or worry about someone that contacted me that I feel like maybe I can't fix. But I think that's my role, as trying to be a fixer, and I want to make sure that everybody's heard. That's important to me. But when you get on the Board of Education, you think you're going to do all these things, where our responsibilities and the fine line that we can cross is very evident once you get there. You'll see that all the things you thought you were going to do and you were going to change the world, that you can't do. Because our only responsibility, we have several responsibilities: a fiduciary responsibility, ensuring academic success, policy and governance, and hiring the superintendent and evaluating them. And I think we, as most people know, that this board's kind of went over beyond that. But I think still feel like my role is to try to be a fixer, and I just want to do what's right and what's legal, and help educators and students both All three.
Ms. Morris.
I see myself as a Board of Education member, as an advocate for this first term for funding. Funding from the state, funding at the local. But everything that I've listened to goes around supporting teacher salaries and personnel salaries, paying for the curriculum, improving the schools, enhancing growth at all levels. So I will advocate for funding, loud and persistently at a state level. I do not support the current state formula. I do not think a Band-Aid will fix it. I do think that we have to make people accountable at the state level, that public education is absolutely the #1 priority, not another education. So I will advocate for money. And I know we don't like to talk about that word, but let's be honest, when we get down to it, our school system needs the money, and that's what I want to do.
Mr. McCauley.
So for this one, I really think that there are two different ways to look at the board. So there's the statutory obligations, as Ms. Long had indicated. We get to set direction and policy, we get to evaluate, hire, and fire the superintendent, and we get to control the finances. Everybody else reports to the superintendent. But that doesn't mean that we throw up our hands and we say, there's nothing we can do. I view my role on the Board of Education as building as many networks and as strong of collaboration that I can with everybody that I can to advocate for every change that we need for this school district so that the outcomes of our students are what we want them to be and what they deserve. Each of these students gets one shot at a K-12 education. And if we drop the ball, then they leave high school unprepared if they make it that far for the rest of their life. So we really got to nail it. We got to figure it out. And that involves rolling up sleeves, going to Charleston, having, lunch or coffee with, a local senator or a congressperson. Maybe it's working with the county commission or the, development authority. Whatever it is, it's all about building networks and doing whatever we can to lobby for change.
Mr. Wright.
I think my role on the board is the same role that I've had for the last 4 years and even before that. That is advocating for the teachers, meeting with them, getting their point of view, the service personnel meeting with them and getting their point of view on things and pushing what they feel would help our students. But also, on the flip side, being able to understand what the administration is trying to do and try to get that message across as well. Because a lot of times you only see from one perspective. My kids were growing up, they hated when I would always say, well, what about this? Because they always wanted me to take their side. So I always try to frame things so that people can see the different points of view. I want to be able to continue to push for that. I also want to take over the mantle that Mr. Murphy, who's going to be leaving the board, has had for many years. And that is being sometimes the no vote, being sometimes the person that's going to push the envelope, to push our superintendent, to push the central office to do a better job, and not to be a yes man. I learned from him from watching the board before I even was on the board how he was one of the main people that would push back against things. And I will continue that role when he's gone if I'm able to get reelected. I think we can't always accept things at face value. We need to see things from many different points of view and then make the best decision. And understanding, stay in my lane so that Berkeley County can stay fiscally responsible and won't put us in legal trouble.
Ms. Ledford.
I saw you looking at me.
Okay, well, I see my role as someone who advocates for everyone. I want to fight for what our community needs inside of our schools and outside. I want a functioning society in our community. I'm going to be the solution finder. If I'm hearing two different things and they're not making sense, I'm going to find out why. I'm going to be the bridge builder. I want to connect our schools and our parents and build that relationship and that trust that has been lost for a really long time. I'm going to be someone who's willing to ask the hard questions. I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to ask why. And if the answer is, this is what we always do, I'm going to say, why? And why can't we do something different? And I'm just going to fight for what's right. And by fighting, I don't mean being angry. I mean not quitting.
Ms. Reed.
So I feel that my role being on the school board is being a voice of reason, being a sounding board. I have never been a person to just fall in line with what everybody else is voting for or whatnot. I believe that I'm ready to make hard decisions that are morally sound. I believe that strong schools are going to make for a stronger community. Very much so being fiscally responsible and for spending of your taxpayer dollars is very important to me. And ultimately, serving the students and supporting staff. That is my main goal as being a part of the board.
Mr. Sherrod.
I think the number one thing you need to be as a board member is you have to be ready to be a cheerleader for everyone in the school system from top to bottom. You have to cheer things on. You have to want things to succeed. You have to be as positive as you can be while you're still looking for solutions. But as a board member, I think you have to listen to everyone and everything. Then you have to step back and sort through what's reasonable, what's not reasonable with what you're hearing. And then it's time to collaborate with all the stakeholders. You can't come up with all the ideas yourself. Listen, collaborate, see what is the best solution. And many times the board is put in a position to vote, and that's when you have to vote on what you feel is the right thing for everyone involved. And sometimes that can progress something along, or it can stop things, and sometimes that needs to happen.
Ms. Jenkins.
I keep hearing the word can't. There's no. You can. You got to push those people in Charleston. You've got to push hard. You've got to gather these teachers. You've got to gather these unions. You've got to gather these parents and say, these teachers are leaving in groves. Our classrooms are going to be empty, and we're worried about what they're getting paid is just not acceptable. So we've got to get together and say, you know what, these teachers need more money. It doesn't matter what you say, how you do it. We got to push envelopes. We can't just keep sitting back and go, we're going to wait for Charleston to decide how much these teachers get paid. No, we can't, because they're leaving and they're going to Hagerstown, they're going to Winchester. And while our classrooms are suffering, they're still sitting there going, well, they got paid $50,000 a year. Well, a lady just sent me a message and said, I have a master's degree and I'm getting paid $50,000 a year. I love teaching, but I'm getting paid $50,000 a year. It's time to start pushing envelopes. We've been kind long enough. I'm that person that wants to go, who's on board? Let's go to Charleston and let's make change.
All right. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and then I'm going to give you 3 minutes. We've had a great discussion. I'm going to give each of you 3 minutes to tell the audience and the television audience why we need to vote for you. So we'll be back in 1 minute.
When will I be able to retire? How do I make the most of the money I have?
How do I leave a lasting legacy to my loved ones? I'm Philip McCoy, financial advisor with the Marius Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Call us today at 304-263-4343 to help you make the most of your financial future. Our office is located at 1270 Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Join us once again for the Talk Radio WRNR TV10 candidate forums on Tuesday, April 21 from 8 a.m. until noon. We will host these forums once again at the Berkeley County Commission Chamber Meeting Room at 400 West Stevens Street, Martinsburg. The forum will feature candidates for contested seat races and will air live on TV10 Martinsburg, which is Comcast Cable TV Channel 10, on Talk Radio WRNR, FM 106.5 at AM 740, and via our TV10 Martinsburg Facebook live stream. We hope to see you there.
We're back. Thank you all again. I'm glad to know that I still have that teacher look when I look at you and you get a little nervous that, oh, guys, he's going to call on me now. So again, you know, it takes a special person to want to put themselves out there to make a change. And so now is your chance in 3 minutes or less. And I will cut you off at 3 minutes, even if you're in the mid-sentence, 3 minutes or less, to tell us why we need to support your candidacy. And since I started on this end at the very beginning, I'll now start on this end to close it out.
Well, I hate talking about myself. I think that Berkeley County should vote for me because those of you that have seen me, you've seen me in your schools, you've seen me advocate for you. If you watched any of the board meetings, you've seen what I'm passionate about, and that's all students. You've seen me ask questions. What some people don't see is they don't see all the other aspects. They don't see when I'm called to come and speak to the students. They don't see me when I'm at the science fair, the social studies fair, all the other volunteer work that I do in the school system. Those things don't get noticed because I don't really put it out there that much because I just want to do what's best for the students. It's not about me, it's about them. Reading to students and seeing their eyes light up, that makes me feel great. When I'm at a park and they say, "Thank you, Mr. Wright, for reading to me," that's great right there. That's all the thank you I need. Don't need anything else. Don't do this obviously for the pay because if anybody that's already on the board knows, it does not pay much. But it's not about the pay, it's about the impact. I think that I can do the best job to get our community together. I can go speak to churches. I can speak to any organization to let them know how great Berkeley County is. We do have our struggles, we do have our warts, but if I have to be the wart remover, that's what I'll be. I have no problem with letting a superintendent go. I don't really have friends. I'm friendly with everybody, but I don't have personal relationships to the point where I can't make a rational decision. I have family that's in the school system, and I care very deeply about them, and I want all students to be successful. I want all students to be successful as I was through Berkeley County schools and as my children have been. My children are very successful. I'm very proud of all of them, and I want that same pride for all parents to experience. And we will only get there if we work together. And I think I'm one of the best people that you can decide on to help you. My door is always open, my email, my text, you can DM anytime, and I will try to answer you to the best of my ability, or that I'm legally able to answer you. Some questions, as a board member, you cannot answer. And that's one of the most frustrating parts of the job, because there's things that we know that we'd like to say, but we can't because we have to protect the staff or we have to protect the student. But it's what's best for the county. And I think I've been doing a wonderful job doing that, and if you think that, please vote for me, and I look forward to serving you. If not, you'll still see me in your schools, you'll still see me volunteering, you'll still see me helping. You can call me anytime. Thank you.
Ms. Reed.
3 minutes is a very long time.
You don't have to take it all.
To talk about me. But it's not about me. It's about all of you, and it's about all of the students in our schools. I have had kids in public schools continuously since the year 2000. I've seen lots of changes happen, good and bad. I've also been a member of other school boards where we had to make extremely tough decisions, and one of those even being the removal of the president. And it was an excruciating decision to have to make, but it was what was best for the school, for the staff, and for the students. So I'm not above making those decisions for everybody in Berkeley County schools. I'm a small business owner in Berkeley County. I've always tried to be active in community, and I think it is a very important factor in electing someone here. Everyone on this panel has been fantastic, but I lost my train of thought now. I think that as an elected person in any capacity, you have to do what is right for the position that you are voted into. That it is not about being a yes person, it's about making those tough decisions that are going to make the schools better, make the kids have higher achievement levels, and be a leader in our state and hopefully throughout the country as well.
Ms. Jenkins.
I think you should vote for me because I'm an envelope pusher. I'm, we got to go full throttle, and we've got to get these teachers paid. I'm sorry, we are losing valuable teachers every single day. And, whether it's 200 teachers that were out right now or 250 by the end of the year, we have got to find a way to march to Charleston and go, if you can sit in this cushy office, you can pay our teachers. So we've got to do that, and we've got to give them a voice. Teachers are saying they're using platforms, and maybe this iReady platform that is supposedly being sued for data mining, and these teachers are going, either the parents don't know or we don't know, because we have got to start giving these teachers the ability to say, look, we need to go to the superintendent's office or wherever and say, listen, do you really know what's going on with these programs? Do you know what's going on with these platforms? Teachers feel like they are just supervisors in their very own classrooms. So we have got to start giving them a voice saying, this is what's working, this is what's not working. Just because something comes down from Charleston or the state or whomever doesn't mean it's going to work in every classroom. Teachers are saying, I've got, students that, 10 minutes in, they're done because we give them an iPad and we say, this is what you're supposed to do. 10 minutes later, they're done. So they're sitting there idle. Idle time is a very dangerous thing when you're talking about a bunch of teenagers. And I'm all for summer programs. Years ago, they had programs where teenagers could work in the summer, whether it was cleaning the creeks or going out and cleaning the parks. These kids were able to make an income in the summer. It wasn't substantial, but they were able to make an income and feel like they were a valid part of the community. I don't know how hard it would be to go, we need 50 kids, low-income kids, rich kids, poor kids, doesn't matter. Let's get them out cleaning up the parks, cleaning up the creeks and whatnot, and give them some responsibility, because a lot of these kids, they have no responsibility. And discipline, we need to put discipline back in the hands of these teachers, because if little Johnny is injuring a teacher at second grade and the only thing you can do is write a statement to whomever, from the principal to the superintendent's office, and then call the parents and they go, we don't have transportation, we can't come get him. Varsity's got buses, somebody's going to bring him home. So at some point, we've got to pay these teachers, we've got to put discipline back in the classroom, and we've got to let them start determining what's best for their classroom, their students, and even the parents. You've got to get in there and take part in your children's education.
Ms. Morris.
Hi, I'm Kathy Funka-Morris. Some of you know me as Dr. Funk. I grew up in Jefferson County on a dairy farm. I'm a public school graduate from Jefferson High School. I attended WVU for undergrad and med school. I returned back to the Eastern Panhandle because I think it's the best place to live. I have always said I value where I live. A community grows with the value of its education system and its healthcare system. I believe that the educators who inspired me are why I'm where I am now. I believe that we need to advocate for the education system. That is the teachers, that is the administrators, that is the service personnel, and that's everything that goes in between. We haven't talked tonight about services that we directly fund, but the federal government funds. We need to talk about the special ed system. We need to talk about the RNs and the mental health. Those are also just as important in our school system and have value. As a member of the Berkeley County Board of Education, I will advocate for everyone. Students and families need to feel that when they step into our school system, they are the most important person. They need to know that they're listened to. We need to have transparency and communication. But we also need to establish boundaries. We see this in a lot of industries, that boundaries have been blurred. In systems where we talk about how things are handled, we jump around and not value the structure. I advocate for an educational system that maintains the structure with accountability, transparency, and communication. I would love for everyone to vote for me. I value our community. I'm invested in our community. I'm a 4-H leader for the last 15 years in our community. And I hear from working with parents and students there how just being listened to and respected, they in turn respect the system that they're in. Thank you. Vote for Dr. Kathy Funk.
Ms. Long.
Jackie Long. I would appreciate your vote. I started my career in 1974 in Berkeley County Schools, and working on the state level and the county level, I've never seen things as bad as they are now in the state. But public education, trying to dismantle public education, I know that's not a board member level, but in essence some it is, because we are here for public education. The state is doing its level best to dismantle public education, and somehow we're allowing it to happen. If we don't stop battling each other, I said this last night, and I used to tell service personnel this all the time, if we don't start fighting amongst ourselves and battling each other and start fighting for public education, it's going to be taken away from us in a heartbeat, because we're kind of rolling over and playing dead. Let's start fighting for each other and fighting for what is ours. This is a great school system, regardless of what you hear, any kind of negativity. There's great employees here. Let's make sure that the 20 counties in Berkeley County that were not given locality pay because they decided not to vote on it at the last minute. Let's gather in Charleston and show them that we are important, that those other 20 counties and us mean something, that we have to pay our employees and we want them to stay here. I would like for you to continue on the Board of Education for that and many other reasons. My door's always open. I answer all your emails, your texts, your phone calls. I want to do what's best for this system, and I think I can continue that with your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Sherrard.
You know, I thought of something one day, and I started sharing it with my students, and it blows their mind. I have been in school for 51 straight years. I don't have many memories of before when school started, and I have no idea what life's going to be like when I finally graduate. I love this career. I love the students. I've been involved with them. Like I say, I went back into the classroom after I retired, and it's a wonderful experience. It's not that much different than it used to be, but one thing that I've seen and I really think will make a difference and is one of my big platforms is just parent and student behavioral and academic standards being raised. Our kids aren't mastering things. They're not achieving. We are bleeding teachers to private sector and other counties. Those problems are there too. But with the advent of charter schools, we are bleeding students to private schools. It's not leaving us with the young ones that we should be teaching in the public education system. So I really feel if we bring accountability back, we constantly tell the teachers, plan with rigor, teach with rigor. I got tired of that word. Oh my. But if we don't have students rigorously working on the rigorous curriculum we've created, then it's useless. So we need higher academic and behavioral standards, and we need to keep the teachers accountable also.
Ms. Ledford.
I think this question kind of rolls into the previous one. So I've been invested in this county for years. I've started advocating in 2017 for the changes that our schools needed. I had no idea what I was doing, probably still don't, but I'm not afraid to learn and find out. I'm service staff. I know what it's like to be in a classroom. I know what it's like to be tired of being tired. I'm tired of not being heard, and how things get laid to the side so easily. I also come with a different perspective than many people. Because of my lived experiences, I've had to navigate many different systems, the school system being one. And with that, I have seen how different systems have the same things that they touch on, but they do it very differently. So when we come to counselors in our schools, I'm all for that. I think we need social workers in our schools, but we need to understand on every level and tell the community that what a mental health provider does in a school is very different than what a mental health provider does out in the community. Just like OT in schools is very different than OT out of school. These are things that we need to educate people on. And above all else, I think we have good policies, but I think it's time that we actually follow them.
Mr. McCauley.
So first off, thank you, Education West Virginia, for hosting this event. Mr. Moderator, you challenged us earlier today about looking at the positives for the school district. And so for my closing, I'd like to outline my positive vision for where I'd like to see our schools go. So imagine a Berkeley County school where kids feel at home and eager to learn. Teachers feel respected and appreciated. Principals are able to lead their schools, and families feel heard. And wouldn't it be wonderful if absenteeism and disruptive behavior were a thing of the past? That's the future that I want. And to get there, we need to give our teachers their voices back. We need to get more serious about behavior and attendance challenges. We need to prioritize student outcomes, and we need to build stronger partnerships with the people and organizations that support our schools. Our kids do best when the community leans in. I've seen this as a dad, as a husband of an educator, as a military veteran, as someone who has volunteered in our schools. I've put 4 kids through our schools, and we've called Berkeley County home for more than a decade. Tonight you've heard a lot of issues. And for me, it comes back to building better schools, restoring trust, and just improving the conditions on the ground. That way our kids have a brighter future. I'm Robert McCauley, and I want to fight for the very changes that I've advocated for tonight. And if you give me your vote, I will be that person to stand up and push back against Charleston, to build the bridges that we need, and to fight for everything that I possibly can to move our schools in the right direction. I know I can't change everything in 4 years, but my goal is to put the biggest dent in the biggest issues that I possibly can.
Thank you. In my teaching career, I was in the classroom for 22 years and primarily a basketball coach, but I coached a little bit of everything. And many times as I've traveled around, I said the great thing about being a basketball coach is you can prepare a 1-minute speech for a timeout or a 10-minute speech for halftime. Well, since we have a little more time, you're going to get the halftime speech here. Okay. So be ready. First of all, I want to thank WRNR and TV10 for putting this out there to the public. It's a great opportunity for the public to see, who couldn't be here, to see and listen to the candidates. Secondly, I want to really thank the people who are here. You've sat here for 2.5 hours. You've had to listen to bad jokes from me and everything else and my forgetfulness, but you've made it your mission to be an informed voter. And folks, that's the most important thing that we can be. And we're not going to vote just on the Board of Education in this election. We're going to be voting for county officials, city officials, delegates, and senators. Because everything that happens in education comes from the Golden Dome down there in Charleston. And we have to be informed voters for that also. We have to make sure that our people that we send to Charleston represent us, the public. They're voters. Because that's the most important thing. And for us as voters, we have to make sure that if they don't listen to us, their constituents, we find someone who will. Because that's how democracy works. We have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to continue to move this state forward. You have an opportunity as the voters and listeners here tonight and on TV, and those that will listen on the YouTube, to make a difference in Berkeley County. I'm going to tell you, you have a really good system. But just like every system, there are things that can be improved and things that need to be changed. And I did challenge you to look at the positives earlier, because too many times we only look at the negatives. I wasn't trying to shy away from the negatives. I also want to bring the light on the positives too. As board members, please don't shy away from the negatives. That's important. But please promote the positives, because the people have to understand the great things that are happening in our classrooms, on our buses, in our cafeterias, and everywhere in the schools each and every day. That's the best thing that we can do. I want to recognize Education West Virginia Berkeley and Education West Virginia Berkeley ESP. It is amazing that you get this many people to come out and listen, and you get 8 of the 9 candidates for the board to participate in a forum when they don't know what I'm going to ask, and they've never met me and don't know my sarcasm or my looks. So thank you for what you've done for the voters. It's important. It shows that Education West Virginia, Berkeley, is leading by example, and they want to make better changes for the kids, the students of Berkeley County. And that's what we're all here for. We want to make a difference for our kids. Every educator has a story. The bus driver has a story. The cook has a story. Too long. But I can tell you that the thing I'm most proud of is we're never going to apologize for standing up for our members, but we're never going to forget that we're here for the students. And we fight each and every day for the students. So my challenge to you as board members, if you get elected, is that you fight each and every day for our educators and for our students, because they're the most important people around. I ask a question many times when I speak across the state. I ask people to close their eyes. And I want them to think for a minute about the person outside of your family who's had the most influence on you in your life. And then I ask them, how many of you thought of an educator, a teacher, a bus driver, a cook, a custodian? And you would be amazed at the number of hands that are raised by that. Because we do. We make a difference in kids' lives. We make their dreams come true. We make dreams become a reality. Not just a possibility, a reality. And that's how good we are. Folks, it is an honor for me to represent the educators across the state of West Virginia. It is a huge honor for me to come and do this tonight. I appreciate the Education West Virginia Berkeley for asking me to come and do that. But most importantly, I want to thank you, the candidates, because this is not easy. This is not an easy thing to do, to put yourself out there for the criticisms that you'll face, for the everybody can do it better. And I told you I was a coach for 22 years. It's the best training for what I'm doing now. Because as a coach, everybody was a better coach than me. All you had to do is ask the people in the stands. And every loss we had was my fault. Even though I never threw a bad pass for Princeton High School, it was my fault. And every win we had was because of the players, and it should be that way. But we make a difference in those kids' lives. And I still have those relationships, just like every educator sitting here has, and out there in TV, has relationships with students that they've helped. And the greatest thing that can happen to you as a board member and to an educator is for a kid to come by and thank you for making a difference in their lives. And we all have that. We now have to tell those stories. We have to make sure that people understand what we're here for. Well, it's about time for halftime to end. The buzzer's about to ring. I want to thank one more time WRNR TV 10. I'll get it right. Because not only can the people watch it now, but they can go on the YouTube later and refresh it again and watch it. To the audience, I'm going to ask you to do the most important thing you can do in a democracy, and that is vote. Make sure that you go out and vote. I'm not going to advocate for any of these candidates or for anyone else. What I'm going to advocate for is that you be an informed voter and you vote, and take people with you to vote too. Because if we have an election where 20% of the eligible voters decide where we're going to go as a state, shame on us. It's time for us to have our voices heard. And I know your concerns over here in Berkeley County. I know with the housing and everything else, it's time for our voices to be heard. So thank you again for tonight. And with that, I believe it's time to sign off. So audience, thank you all so much.
Join us once again for the Talk Radio WRNR TV10 Candidate Forums on Tuesday, April 21 from 8 a.m. until noon. We will host these forums once again at the Berkeley County Commission Chamber Meeting Room at 400 West Stevens Street, Martinsburg. The forum will feature candidates for contested seat races and will air live on TV10 Martinsburg, which is Comcast Cable TV Channel 10, on Talk Radio WRNR, FM 106.5 at AM 740, and via our TV10 Martinsburg Facebook live stream. We hope to see you there.